Anybody who watches and understands college football shouldn't be shocked by the occurrences on Saturday night at Kyle Field. Two talented teams, one's playing in desperation for its college football season, just to say, hey, we showed up at least one time and won a big game. And that's what we had with LSU falling to Texas A&M. We got Carter on the line from Power Hour LSU right here on YouTube. Carter, how you doing today?
On to Georgia, baby.
Yeah.
No, Texas A&M, it was tough. It was really, really tough to, basically be in the college football playoff picture and, pull a Tennessee at South Carolina, right? And them play by far their best offensive game. But, give the Gamecocks a lot of credit getting it done, 2 weeks in a row, and give Texas A&M a lot of credit. They had a lot of 5-stars, played a 5-star level, and the LSU team, not just the defense, but the offense, they had huge opportunities to win it, but now they got an opportunity to pull off one of the biggest championship upsets in quite some time.
Yeah, so one other note on the Saturday night game before we look ahead to Georgia would be, I think we can all envision Texas A&M finally pulling it together, guys getting together for one last go. And, you can either choose to go off the rails, fall apart and collapse and just say, the season's over anyway, we can't accomplish anything, or you can do what they were able to accomplish. But from the LSU perspective, what did you see in that game that was missing from earlier efforts and big wins?
Yeah, so for everyone, I do these live streams and I do these film studies, and I've gotten a lot of, mail, email, tweets, and all of that. What happened to the LSU defense? What happened to the LSU defense? And, I went back and I listened to what Brian Kelly had to say, Mark, and I think he was a little perplexed at how easy A&M ran the football, right? Chain had 38 carries. So you would have liked to not let that guy beat you and force some other guys to beat you. Obviously, Chain's a really good player. There's nothing wrong with him having a career night. But, I was very shocked at the LSU defense. But for those that don't watch LSU each and every week, they really only had a few other rough performances on the year. This was the first one that was just flat out bad, right? So Matt House, who had been the best defensive coordinator in the SEC this year, I still think he's been the best DC in the SEC this year. He had one rough game, Mark. One. You've got to cut him some slack here, okay? Should he have done better? Should he have made better adjustments? Yeah, you'd be the first to tell you. But this was his only objectively poor game. And LSU's offense still had an opportunity to make some plays. There was a lot of drops. There was a lot of fumbles, big misses here and there. And the opportunities were there to make those plays, and they didn't make them. Now, if you make those plays like you made versus Alabama in the second half, and like you have in other big spots, you might be able to beat Georgia on Saturday.
We've got our guy Carter here from Power Hour LSU. Also, Carter, let people know where they can find you concerning your SEC initiative.
Yeah, Power Hour SEC. I think Auburn's #1 head coach candidate is clear. If you go to the channel, you'll see who I would hire right now. But man, Mark, I'm so excited. I'm getting to go to Atlanta for the game this weekend, and I'm super pumped up to see what LSU does versus Georgia in a bounce back.
Yeah, so if Georgia wasn't Georgia, meaning in 2021, and we didn't know anything about what they had accomplished as a national champion, and we just took this year on its own, I don't know that the task would seem that daunting, but we know what this team does. They may sleepwalk against Georgia Tech or Missouri, but when they got to turn it on against the best competition, they've done it. That's the track record. They're the national champs. So how in the world does LSU get this done?
Yeah, I mean, look, I know this will sound weird, but Kirby deserves some Coach of the Year love for, all he lost last year, and to still have this team playing the way that they've played this year is really incredible. Obviously LSU's defense has got to hold the edge better than they did this past weekend because Georgia's 12 personnel, 2 tight end sets that they're known for, Bowers and Washington. It's really tough to stop them. I mean, look, whoever's back there at running back, even the 4th stringer, Branson Robinson's a really good player for them. So, LSU's defense has just got to play a little bit better. But honestly, The big story is going to be LSU's offense going up against Georgia's defense. Will Jaden Daniels make some big throws in this game? He did versus Alabama. He's going to have to versus Georgia because you can beat Georgia through the air. You can hit shots on them. You just got to be able to actually hit the shots. And if you don't, you're going to be in a really, really tough spot. So Georgia's defense does a really good job of just making you earn every last little thing. And LSU's going to have to earn it against, one of the best teams in college football, honestly, the modern era these past couple of years, these Kirby Smart defenses.
Do you think the psychology changes at all because of what happened on Saturday night versus a team that knows, hey, even though we lost 2 games, the SEC championship's ours, and we got a path to the playoff as opposed to just trying to win the SEC?
It does help them play a little looser, right? Because there's more weight on this game, Mark, if the college football playoff was at stake. So I do think that does lower the pressure on LSU's team. And look, I'm going to be honest, Mark. Every single fan for LSU has had this exact take. What happened versus Texas A&M sucked, but we are ahead of schedule. We never expected to win the SEC West. And Mark, I know you cover every single team. I cover every team in the SEC the best I possibly can. One simple truth is LSU is the only team in the West that exceeded their expectations this year. Mississippi State, Ole Miss, I think most of their fans thought they were 8-4 rosters, right? Arkansas, down year for them. Then, of course, Auburn, a really down year. And then Alabama didn't have the season that they expected. Everyone picked them to win the West, and Texas A&M had one of the worst seasons ever for a team ranked. So, LSU was the only team in the West that exceeded expectations, and they're kind of playing with house money here versus Georgia. So, I do think it does, lower some of the pressure. I don't think the team feels as demoralized. Knowing some of the players and, people around the program tell me, hey, we lost the game. We're on to Georgia. And I think the team is going to come out ready to fight and play really hard versus the Dogs.
Saw Harold Perkins get banged up a bit on a play where he tracked down Connor Wiegman in the 4th quarter. Any concerns across the board? What are the injury status of anyone, offense, defense?
Yeah, so I think Perk's going to be fine. I just think he got the wind knocked out of him. Hopefully he'll be okay. Obviously, Josh Williams' injury was a big thing going into this game. They decided to not play him versus Texas A&M. But the story is going to be Jaden Daniels. He came out of that game with a walking boot. And it came on 2 runs, and the more severe injury came on a 2-point conversion attempt late in that game versus Texas A&M. So, Jaden's health is going to be heavily monitored. And if he can't go, I think he is going to go. Jaden is and I could be critical of Jaden, but the one thing you got to say about Jaden is he is the toughest, grittiest son of a gun quarterback you'll ever see. I mean, the intangibles on this guy is truly incredible. I would be very shocked if he doesn't tough it out and play in this spot versus Georgia. So I do think Jaden will be on the field versus Georgia. I have no information other than he is in a boot. Maybe that changes. Brian Kelly, of course, has a ton of press he's going to do this week, but we'll see if Jaden is able to go on Saturday.
And if he can't, Garrett Nussmeier obviously pushed him to the brink in terms of a quarterback battle. We saw him a little bit against Auburn's the one game that I can remember where he got on the field. It's a much different offense with Nussmeier.
It is, and there's a lot, Mark, and I know people close to Nuss, and I know some people close to Walker Howard. There are a lot of people that would want Walker Howard to go in over Garrett Nussmeier, right? I cover this team every day. That is the number one message I get, right? What is Jaden Daniels going to do going into next year? And if he does decide to go to the NFL, will it be Garrett Nussmeier? Will it be Walker Howard? I think Garrett Nussmeier is still your guy in this spot, but I do think some LSU fans want to see Walker Howard play either in, not the SEC championship game, but potentially the bowl game down the road. And it really is a fascinating stable of quarterbacks for LSU's future.
Carter the Power. That's on Twitter. You see the handle right there. The work is phenomenal on Power Hour LSU and also Power Hour SEC. Carter, enjoy the trip. We hope for a good ball game, and we shall see how it plays out.
The voice of college football. Let's hope we see one of the biggest upsets. I appreciate you, man.
Thanks, man.